Welcome back, everybody, to the Nurturers Pod. We got Daniel with us here today, the founder of Activ Agency. How's it
Doing
going today,
great.
man?
Excited to be here.
Good, man. No, super excited to have you on. I think I've been following you on Twitter for a couple months now. And when I saw that you had that goal of being on 10 podcasts this year, I had to reach out. So super glad that we could make it happen. But how are things
Things
going
are good. We've got
with
a
the
lot of things
agency?
going on. Got a few cooks in the kitchen, if you will. So we have the agency. We work with fast growing brands on that side of things. Usually it's about a dozen-ish brands on that side. We got a smaller team that really focuses on quick and fast growth. And then the other part of my business is a venture studio. So we have a few e-commerce brands we've launched from scratch that we own and manage, and we're growing those as well. So it's been fun, exciting, terrifying, all things at the same time.
No, for sure, man. And that's what I noticed when I was looking on your LinkedIn. I noticed a couple other brands and I was going to ask you about that. So those are brands that you personally have started, or has it been a team effort with
Yeah.
Active?
So there is a bit of a mix. So there's some that we actually, so people on our team have worked on the branding, product development. We have someone on our team who focuses on product development and focuses on getting the research done on that side. And then our team actually puts together the plan and gets everything launched. So essentially, there's right now we launched 2 this year, and we have a third one that's found product market fit. It's growing and scaling. And generally, we're trying to not do or launch more than 1 a year if possible. But that didn't happen that way. We had 2 we launched this year, but the goal is to get to about 1 a year and figure
Nice.
out the winners and then let go of the ones that aren't able to scale or we aren't able to find product market fit really well.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. It looks like you've been working specifically with this agency over the course of the last 6 years and you've had other experience. And so I'm sure you've been able to learn a thing or two and apply it to these brands and to be able to help them scale and grow pretty quickly. So is Flute Stress Care, is that one
Yeah, so
your
that's
brand
one of
though?
our portfolio brands on the venture studio side.
Okay.
So that actually, Michael, who's our chief branding officer, he was the one who did the formulation. We brought that into our family of brands. And so, yeah, that's been really fun to see to grow it and scale it over the last year and a half.
Nice. No, that's super cool. I was checking out the landing page and everything and looks really solid. I want to give it a try. I love trying all these new D2C products and stuff. I just, have you tried Juvie yet? Have you seen Juvie on Twitter?
Yeah, I think I have
I swear
seen.
it's been
Yeah, I
popping
think
up
I've seen.
everywhere.
So there's so many different brands. I've seen there's so many. I love D2C and I love trying different products. I actually live in Toronto now in Canada. So a lot of products don't actually get sent
Okay.
to Canada. I'm from the US, but so that's one of those things that like sometimes I'll get products and sometimes they won't be delivered. So I have to like, when I go to the US, I like send it to somebody, a family member's house, and I can get it. But
Right.
yeah, I think there's so many incredible products on the market. Sometimes it's hard to know what to try, what, works. But you'll find that the products and the brands that actually have a really incredible product usually stand the test of time. And we're probably going to see that continue to be the case as things get a little hairy in the economy and things like that. The best products are going to win. And we've found that to be the case for our brands, for brands we've worked with, and that's going to continue to be, especially as we go into probably a bit of a difficult time in the economy.
No, absolutely. I would even dare to say more so now heading into this situation. Who really knows what in the foreseeable future? And so, yeah, those brands who really are able to stand out and have that product and find their product market fit, obviously, are going to be able to stand that test of time for sure. No, that's super cool. And so you said you were in Toronto. Are you from Minneapolis?
Yeah. So
Is that what I saw?
I'm from there. I'm from Minnesota, grew up
Okay.
there, and then ended up moving up here, up to Toronto a couple years ago. I always say you move for 2 things,
Cool.
usually work or love. For me, it was love. And so ended up moving up to Toronto for that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That is awesome, man. Super cool. How'd you guys meet?
Actually, so I was, before the pandemic happened, I was actually doing some research, believe it or not, to see if we could do remote work. We had an office base in Minneapolis for our team. And I was just exploring because I'm like, we don't necessarily need to all be together. So I actually went to Thailand to see, because I've been to Thailand before. I've been to Southeast Asia. I love Vietnam, some beautiful places. And I'm like, could I work remotely there? Could it work? And so literally that was at the beginning of 2020, right before the pandemic. And I loved it.
Right before everything.
But
Yeah.
the 12-hour time difference was just not really feasible. We had to do calls at 1. I had to do a call like 1 in the morning, and I was like falling asleep. I'm like, I can't do this. So didn't work for me. But in the end, we actually did move to remote work. Obviously, mostly everyone did because of the pandemic, and then we stuck to it.
Right.
But because of that, and going back to how I actually met my now partner, who we were both traveling, and we met as we were traveling. So I met her in Thailand, and then she was going back home. That was how we met, and that's how things started. And now I'm here. So yeah.
Dude, that is so cool. No, I think it's super unique. Is she from the States as well, or
So
where is
originally
she?
she's from Hong Kong, and then she ended up moving to Canada
Oh, no way.
when she was younger. Yeah, it's wild. It was just this wild thing. We were overlapped by a couple days, but yeah, so she's been living up in Canada for a while. And but yeah, Toronto is a great city. It's got a lot of people in the e-commerce space, and like a lot of business people here too. I didn't realize it. I never had visited before, but it's actually a pretty great city.
Gotcha. No, I've heard really good things. The closest I've gotten to Canada was Niagara Falls. When I was younger, we took a trip out there. We didn't even cross the border. I didn't have my passport then. I don't know. I was too young. And yeah, closest I've ever been, but it's definitely on the bucket list.
You're close. You're close. You could just take a. Yes,
I know. I was super close, man. Hindsight, I think, obviously, if it would have been me, I probably would have taken that step over the border and checked it out. But anyways, it'll have to be a trip for another time now, for sure. But cool, man. No, that's super awesome. I just love hearing people's stories. I had no idea that you lived in Thailand, Vietnam, or visited there. So that's really cool. And I think it also brings a lot of neat and unique perspective, just where you're able to go out and see different cultures and meet different people. So I think that's really awesome. And you were doing the agency full time when you were out there as well then.
Yeah, I did the best I could when I was traveling. I think I don't find it super easy to work while traveling. So I think I was very grateful to have a business partner, and just the people that were our team really helped while I was doing that. I don't know if I could do that again anytime soon, as we've expanded our business and things have grown. It's a very fun but difficult thing. You have to figure out how you're going to do the time zone thing. I think working remotely is different than being 12 hours or 14 hours ahead or behind of the time zone that people are usually working in. So I think, yeah, it's amazing. I think remote work is such an incredible thing. Being able to go to places that you probably never would have been able to go to. And there's really beautiful places I've been to. Worked in Mexico City, which is one of my favorite places. I've worked in other places in Europe and Italy. So there's so many places I think that we have the ability now to be able to work from. And it makes you feel like the world's your oyster a little bit if you're able to get out and explore a little bit. There's really great places to be able to go out and work and enjoy yourself. Great food, great people, great cultures that are really fun to explore.
No, that's awesome. Last question, then I'll dive more into what the podcast is actually about. But I'm curious, what's been your favorite place that you've been able to visit and travel to?
My favorite place that I traveled to was Vietnam. So I didn't really think I would be as enamored with Vietnam as I was, but it is actually the size as long as north and south of California. That's how big Vietnam is. I didn't realize how big it was. And the culture, the people are so wonderful. The
Oh, wow.
food is absolutely incredible. And the views are beautiful. And it's some of the most beautiful areas I've been in my life. And I could have been there for a lot longer. I was there for 3 weeks. I could have been there for 6 months, year, just exploring and seeing the beauty of
Yeah.
Vietnam. So highly recommend if you haven't been, I definitely check it out.
Dude, that is awesome. No, that's super cool. I've never made it out there. It's definitely, I've heard a lot about Bali. A lot of people talk about Bali, Indonesia, those areas over there. I've heard Vietnam a couple times, but definitely we'll have to throw that on the bucket list as well. We're just adding them on there today. Cool. So yeah, diving a little bit more into obviously the purpose of the podcast. I know when I asked you what you were like in high school, you said you were a bit of a mix between a jock and a nerd. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah. So how do I explain it was hard to explain because I feel like I was a mix. So I played sports. I love playing sports. I was still like a really
Nice.
nice guy, like pretty much made friends with everyone. And I was a bit different. I don't know how people like me, but I was bizarre. I was a little weird. Like I just remember going into school. I think I wore like pajamas sometimes. I just think about some of the things I did. I was like, I did that. Like I would bring my guitar to school and like I was just a very interesting kid, but like I think I really was kind to people and I was really genuinely, I enjoyed talking to people and connecting with people. And I think that helped just, so yeah, it was a mix. And I was liked school. I liked like doing my homework and studying. And also I like playing sports. So it was a bit of a eclectic type of a kid in high school.
Nice, man. No, and that was the other thing that stood out. You said that the most important thing to you was your grades in high school. I think that's super unique because I feel like a lot of kids, when they are a jock, they don't necessarily branch out. They're not necessarily like the nice kid that's connecting and talking with a bunch of different people. So I think that's super cool. What sports did you play?
I played
What
football.
sport?
I played basketball. I was in track and earlier on played baseball. Then I swapped that out for track. But yeah, I played multiple sports throughout and
Nice.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. Love playing basketball. I still play basketball, but I love playing basketball. I really I excelled pretty well in track and field and all was fun. I started a little bit later. I played both like cornerback and wide receiver. That was really fun, but I wasn't amazing. Like I wasn't going to go play in college or anything, but I had a lot of fun. I played and it was, I think it was I learned a lot about team sports, like being part of a team and being able to work really hard towards whatever the goals that you're setting. And that taught me a lot. I think like you learn a lot of mental strength when you're playing team sports.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I played baseball and football as well. And funny enough, I actually didn't start until my junior year. I played when I was younger, but I had Osgood Schlatter and like my knees were just like
Oh
getting
my gosh,
destroyed.
you're an dude.
Don't want to know
Oh my
what that
God,
is.
me
It's like
too.
that little bump. Did
Yeah.
you have it?
Yeah.
No way. Yeah. So like when I was younger, it like destroyed my football career. I'm like, dude, I'm never going to play
Wow.
football again. And then eventually it got better. And it was my junior year in high school. All my buddies were like, dude, you got to come play. I'm like, all right, whatever. And ended up loving it. It was so much. But yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. Just that whole team aspect of playing together. Like there's so many valuable lessons that I am able to apply even to my day to day now, like working full time. I think it really does teach you how to work with a team. And yeah, obviously in business, there's so many of those skills that can be up as well. Now that's super cool. Did you, so you said it, you didn't, you thought it was fun, but it wasn't really your thing. Track and field was your
Yeah,
thing
I
then?
was pretty good in track and field. I did a few different events, mostly like
Nice.
jumps. So like long jump, triple jump were more focuses for me. And yeah, so I was
Cool.
probably more like accomplished, if you will, on that side of things, just like would win my events and things like that all the time. But with team sports, let's say football or basketball, I think one of the things that you need in programs like that is like and it's really interesting because it's very applicable to like business and so many other things, but like training, like the teams that are good, they usually are starting like training early, like super young. They have these programs that are really good. And our school didn't necessarily have maybe the resources or anything like that. So we ended up not having as much of that growing up, going through like junior high school. Our program maybe wasn't the best, but it still, there was nothing like a Friday night. It was so fun to play. And I remember
Right.
one game, it was like a rival. We were always like rivals against them. And I think I caught like this long bomb, like a game winning touchdown pass. It was like a 60-yard touchdown. It was really fun. That was like one of the coolest
Let's
moments. It
go.
was just like super fun to win over a rival. And those are the type of moments you're like, you don't,
Right.
like, there's so many great things that happen after high school, but those are the memories that are fun to remember.
No, absolutely, dude. I think you said it like, obviously, yes, lots of cool memories, lots of cool stuff that happens in high school. And those cool memories are awesome to relive and remember. But yeah, definitely out of high school, there's so many cool things that you're able to go and do and see. And I think that leads me into my next question. You also mentioned here that you thought that going out of high school, you were going to be a pastor. And so what kind of led you to believe
Yeah.
that?
So I grew up when I was younger, I went to church quite a bit. And I actually ended up going to a Christian college. And I think like when I was going into that, I was like, this is what I wanted to do. I think a big part of me wanted to get to help people. And that was my worldview at the time. I think that's the direction I thought I was going to go. And because I didn't really have any other thing that I really was like, I want to do this, or other ways that I thought I could help people. And so, yeah, that was the reason why I had thought that I wanted to be a pastor.
Gotcha. So that's what you thought. Because I know you said that your parents, they wanted you to become a doctor. Was there any controversy there? Did they want you to become a pastor as well? Or what was that conversation like? Or was it ever a
Yeah, my dad, he's Nigerian. He's very like strong. Like he wants all of his kids to be in the medical field. He wanted all of his kids to be in the medical field. It was just like expected. And there's some cultures that are very much like, you need to either become a doctor or something like it. And, but he was very
Yeah.
supportive. He wanted me to do what I wanted to do and supported me in that. And so there was never clash or anything. I didn't really I think I was given the ability to decide what I wanted to do. And that was a big part of it. I just was able to do it. There's a lot of encouragement. I ended up taking the medical classes, like pre-med classes for a while when I was in school, but ended up deciding not to go that route. But yeah, that was definitely a possibility, probably with a large
Yeah.
emphasis from my parents.
Gotcha. No, that's cool. So did you end up pursuing being a pastor out of high school then?
Yeah, so I took some classes, but I ended up deciding on communications fairly early. So I think it was after my freshman year, I was pretty much, I moved more on the communication side and just realized that I just didn't really think that was going to be like the pastor side wasn't going to be what I wanted to do. And I still didn't know what I wanted to do, even switching to communications. I was like, oh, this seems like a good major. And I was just like, okay, that's the thing that I want to try to focus on and get my degree in and see what happens. And I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. I feel like that's how everyone kind of goes into college. Like, all right, cool. I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it a try. And then you try couple different classes out and end up finding what you enjoy and pursue that. So well, that's super cool. So how'd you end up in e-commerce then?
Yeah, it's definitely it was a process. Started off actually probably good to start from the beginning. So I started when I was out, like there's a summer I worked for this company doing labor. It was a construction company. I started working for them and then they wanted me to do sales. So I started doing sales, and sales is, I think, like the bedrock of anything in the world of business. I think sales is extremely important. Sales is probably one of the most, if not the most important skill set that I think people need to have to do well in business. And so I learned a lot doing that. It was really hard. It's really hard. Like the hardest thing I've probably ever done in my life. But that led me to, I started like
Mhm.
closing deals and I was only commission based. I learned a lot in that process. Eventually after that, I did some bigger
Oh, wow.
deals and made a lot more money, and then read this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. It really changed the way I thought about money and business and how I wanted to go in my life. So I was like, oh, I'm going to start a business. It was in the same space, it was in construction space. And, but in the midst of that, I was really intrigued by marketing. So I started learning a lot about marketing. And as I started learning about marketing, I realized I liked that part of things, not so much the other part of things on that construction business. I helped my sister with a business, started with the marketing side of things, learned how to build out like sales funnels, sales pages, copywriting, learned a lot about copywriting, read a ton of books about it. And then a friend had launched a Kickstarter for a brand and or for a product that they had created. And then I essentially ended up helping him with another friend to grow that business. And so that kind of led to, we did pretty well. It grew pretty quickly. And from there, led to other people looking for help to grow their businesses. And that kind of led to the agency and building that. But it was all from the enjoyment of marketing. And I found that to be something that I love to learn, that the psychology of people and how to like convince people to purchase and to buy from whatever this product is, and look at the data and see what we could adjust and change and then see improvement from that data. I geek out on it. Some people don't, but that's something that I've really enjoyed. And so, yeah, that's been fun to see that adjustment or the growth, and it's changed so much. And so that's what got me into e-commerce. And then as I learned marketing more, I really started really enjoying product. So understanding brand and product. And like I said before, like I order stuff all the time from brands I really like and enjoy. And it just became something that I love it. I think about it all the time, day and night, maybe too much, but it's just what I live and breathe. And it's become a really big passion for myself.
No, that's amazing, man. I think that's so cool that, I don't know, your journey from construction into helping your buddy, getting into marketing and like all the different directions that you had to go to really be able to find this passion of yours. And I think that's so important though. I don't think enough people do it where they go and adventure out and try new things and they're able to really go and pursue those passions and things that they find interesting. And so I think that's super cool that you were able to really capitalize on the marketing aspect and bring that into those businesses and geek out on the numbers and do what you were able to do. So I'm just curious. So your sales construction, you took that, built the brand, and then from that, you had other people approaching you. And that's what kind of led you into the agency. Is that
Yeah, it
right?
turned into pretty much offering that service to other companies who wanted help with growing their business in the e-commerce space, and ended up working with more brands, more companies, and built a team after that because got to the point where it was just a lot of work. So I had to bring in some people. And that's, I guess, usually how it goes. In the beginning of this transition, the goal was never to build our own agency. Even though that's what we've done, we've built a really good team and really good people who are really good at what they do. Our goal was to build our own brands. So that's what led us finally over this last year to get our venture studio up and get our own brands up and running as of about this last year.
Nice. No, that's awesome. Was the first brand that you started working on with your buddy, was it more of a side hustle that you were doing on the side while you were doing sales, or had you completely stopped doing sales at this construction company?
Yeah, that's a good question. It feels so blurry. So I've been done with that, I think. So I think
Yeah.
I was in transition. So I think I was in the process. I was learning a lot. I had started with helping my sister with this fitness company and just like the marketing on that side of things. And then because I knew that, was building out funnels and learning sales funnels, directly applied that to the friend's business. And that kind of was the transition. And so uh, it was a difficult time because it was trying to figure that out and trying to like make do with that income while trying to maybe help other people. And I think whenever you're trying to start something out, if you don't have a previous like book of business or people that you have worked with or like some type of income, it can be scary. And I think that can be difficult for people who are trying to be entrepreneurs starting off. And honestly, it's just got to figure it out. And it just took some time to just work and build up more income and build up more clients and things like that. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting transition. And it was probably not like, it's never clean. Like you're trying to figure it out. And I look back, I'm like, okay, it didn't seem very like straight line. I don't think it ever is a straight line thing. So yeah, it was a bit of a transition, but once we started going, like it was
Interesting.
off to the races a bit.
Gotcha. That was actually going to be my next question. If you really ever had a breaking point where, okay, cool, I'm going to go all in on this. Or if it was more just like a slow transition, and that's what it sounded like it was. Super interesting, I guess, to look back in hindsight on things and see how everything obviously was able to turn out. But in the present, maybe, I don't know, what did you think when you were doing both those things? Is that something that you wanted to pursue? Was you wanted to turn that into a full-time gig and with the self construction job? Or was it more something like, oh, cool, if this takes off, great. Like, I don't
Yeah,
really
I
care
think
either way.
I've always, since I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I'm like, I want to build businesses. I want to invest in real estate. I want to do things that can build equity for my own self. And I know what one of the things they talk about in the book is when you own something like fully, then you have the control over it. And so that was where I wanted to be. I wanted to have something that I could build. And when you also are in that spot, I think you have the ability to have unlimited amount of earning potential. Not always the case. I think people think that you can make a ton of money in business, but people might be surprised that there's a lot of other things you could do and make a lot more money depending on what you do. But if you have the desire to like really go all in, I think that for me was the biggest thing. Like I ended up being like, okay, I want to own my own thing, on my own business. And that is freedom for me. Even if I am going to work more and maybe make less for a undetermined period of time, I'm still going to have to answer to myself. And that's what
Yeah.
made me feel like really confident going all in on it.
Oh, that's awesome. Dude, it's been probably 2 or 3 years since I've read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it changed my mindset as well. It's such a great book. I need to go back and reread it for sure. But yeah, being able to build something for yourself that you own, I think is so important. And yeah, like obviously you've been able to do what you've done and been super successful at it. So what would be your one piece of advice? I know you mentioned a couple in the questionnaire, but what would be your one piece of advice looking back on your high school self and knowing what you know now? What would you would give for someone else who's maybe graduating, trying to figure out what they want to do, what they want to accomplish in life? What would that one piece of advice be?
I would highly recommend finding really good mentors, people that you feel like are in a place where you'd want to be in 15, 20, 30, 40, even 40 years. And I find that as when you're younger, you're actually in a great position to ask for advice and help, and people are going to give it to you freely. As you get older, you might have to pay for it. It's not so fun. But when you're younger, it's going to be a lot easier to actually get that advice and have people that you can look up to. And even if somebody's in a completely different industry than you end up being in, or maybe you become whatever professional you're going to be, having the right mentors, having the right people in your corner to help you and give you advice when you're dealing with things is really going to help. And the other thing I think I shared was going and learning from people. If you're like, okay, I want to go into marketing, I think it's better instead of being like, I'm going to start my own business. I would go into and learn from the best. So find out the top 5 or 10 like expert marketing companies or whatever that looks like, and go into that and apply to work with them. I don't even care. Try to work for free for a bit. Whatever you can do to learn and gain knowledge, because those people or that person that's 5, 10, 15, 20 years ahead of you is going to actually accelerate your learning curve. and they're going to really help you grow and likely help you avoid some different pitfalls that you might have went into. Like I learned everything with my own. Like got to work in an agency before. And I think there's pros and cons to that. I think there's a lot of things you learn working in an agency or working
Mhm.
in the industry that you end up being in from people who are much smarter or much more talented, or maybe not much more smarter and talented, but like much more advanced or senior than you and know a lot more. And then you can actually learn
Right.
from those people. So I think that's one of the things I think would have been really helpful. And I highly recommend it. If you have a chance, try to do that.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. I think it's crucial. Not only that, but once you do, yeah, like you said, once you're able to experiment and find out what you do love, going all in and finding someone who can help you reach that next level. I think that's super cool, man. Sweet. I think that's it for me. I appreciate you hopping on, man. It was a pleasure to chat with you and just hear your
I really
story.
appreciate it. This is fun to jump on and share a little bit. Hopefully, it can help some people as they're going through, think about the future. It's not as scary as some people think. It's fun and be open. I think one of the biggest things is just be open to what's ahead and learn from the people around you and really be kind and with everyone around you. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me. And I've learned that's probably one of the most important things. If you're kind and you're open, then you're going to be fine.
I love that, man. No, that's awesome. I appreciate you hopping on. We'll be in touch I'll be releasing this in the next couple of days. So I'll make sure to let you know. But I appreciate you hopping on
Thanks
and
so
hope
much.
you have a good one, man. Thanks.